I have a question for all of you watching. What's better than a bazillion guns? A bazillion guns in the palm of your hand. Or is it? This is the question I'm going to answer because today I'm going to review Borderlands 2 on the PlayStation Vita. Hello again, and how are we all? Right, now when Borderlands 2 was originally announced for the Xbox, PlayStation or whatever, it was majorly hyped. So hyped in fact that I actually bought it. Now, usually I don't do first-person shooters because to me they didn't have any challenge in them. Well, they just weren't my type of game. But after much persistence from a friend, I finally got Borderlands 2 on PlayStation 3. And I have to admit, I thoroughly enjoyed it. The dialogue was funny, the action was great, and you had all these different characters to play as. Plus all the DLC that came with it. Now, as you probably noticed, I did get the Premier Pack Edition, which basically means you get a bunch of guns right off the bat, as well as a few other things. I can't remember what's in the Premier Club exactly, but that's for you to find out, because I can't be bothered looking it up. Anyway, getting right back on track, so of course I enjoyed Borderlands on the PlayStation 3, so I couldn't resist when I picked up my Vita to get Borderlands on the PlayStation Vita. Now, I kind of feel it was a little bad at some points, but in many ways, porting Borderlands 2 to Vita, it's an impressive little feat, because as a lot of you may know, Borderlands 2 on consoles was a big game. The Vita version is incredibly complete, right down to the two DLC classes, Psycho and Necromancer, and also the expansions, including Captain Scarlet and her pirate's booty, Mr. Torque's Campaign of Destruction, and it also includes the Ultimate Vault Hunter Pack and the Collector's Edition Pack, which increases your level cap and a few other things I can't remember off the top of my head. But how does this compare with its bigger brother? Well, I'm about to show you some gameplay so you can see for yourself. Okay, first of all, going with the graphics. Borderlands 2 on the Vita is a beautiful game, with a brightly coloured, stylish world featuring areas like the frozen tundra you're currently looking at, charred canyons, and a Wild West town. The art direction is diverse and fits the tone perfectly. On the Vita, however, the game's frame rate does suffer a bit, but it's not bad enough to be a major hindrance. Graphically speaking, the game is helped by the fact that the console versions aim for a distinctive rather than state-of-the-art. The cel-shaded look that worked so wonderfully on consoles is just as gorgeous here on the PlayStation Vita. While it's not a perfect port of the game, as witnessed by the opening cutscene, but as a whole it's not so bad. But there are some things that are noticeable. For example, where you start the game, in the console versions there was the mountain ranges and such other landmarks. In Borderlands 2 on the Vita, these are cut out in order to compensate for the fact that the Vita is just not as powerful as the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360. Ultimately, they had to downgrade the graphics. It's not a major disappointment, but it is noticeable at times. But like I said before, despite the fact they were downsized, it's still a visually beautiful game. Next, let's talk about gameplay. Borderlands 2 on the PlayStation Vita very much plays like its predecessors on Xbox and PlayStation 3, with the compromise of controls, which I will now demonstrate.
Otherwise, this is how it is on the PlayStation Vita. The right analog stick is for you to look around, your left analog stick is for movement. The square is your reload, this triangle is your quick weapon swap, the circle button is your crouch, X to interact with objects, and jump. The L and R still work as the aim and shoot buttons. The control pads, or the directional pad I should say, is of course your weapon swap shortcuts. Your start button is your pause menu, so you can go to resume, options, quit, save, whatever. And of course the square button, or not the square, the select button is your cut into various menus, like your objective, the map, your inventory, your skill tree, and of course your badass rank. Now let's talk a bit about the touch controls. If you want to use a grenade, you have to tap this lower part of the screen here. And to activate your special ability, you do the same thing, but on this left side here. Now that's the front touch screens explained. Now on to the others. If you tap on the right side, on the rear pad, you do your melee attack. To run, you do the exact opposite on the left side. Now personally, it's been a bit touchy for me. You can hear me tapping, but it's not responding. This is not the Vita's fault. There we go. So you have to be a little firm with this one.
This, however, is more of a minor thing, because all of the controls are customizable, and everything I just showed you in that video is the default. You can work around that and rearrange the controls as you see fit. Now, of course, being on PlayStation Vita, the graphics being downgraded and certain touch controls added were just the very tip. Now, unlike the original releases for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, co-op had to be reduced from 4 players down to 2. I suspect that this may have to do with the game running at about 30 frames a second, instead of the usual 60 for the console versions, again to compromise with the hardware of the PlayStation Vita. Now, another feature that was added into Borderlands 2 for the PlayStation Vita is the cross-save. Basically what the cross-save does is, you played the PlayStation 3 version for a dozen hours. Basically what it is you can upload your character to the cloud and download it onto the PlayStation Vita and carry on that playthrough. I have to admit, overall, I was skeptical when I heard that Borderlands 2 was coming to the Vita, because it's a fairly big game, and honestly I didn't think it would work on the PlayStation Vita. But after playing it, despite some of the technical issues and the downgrading of the to the co-op and everything, I enjoy it. I honestly enjoy it, like I did, just not as much. Overall, what would I say about Borderlands 2? Well, I have to be honest, it's about 90% of the full Borderlands experience. Almost everything that made the console and PC versions of this game is here. The entire world map, yes. Millions of different guns, hell yeah. The whole campaign and all the side missions, yes. And you're also getting hours on hours of content with the DLC packs that were included. However, the DLC like Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep and Sir Hammerlock's Big Game Hunt are not included. Ultimately, I found this disappointing. So, to be honest, getting the Game of the Year edition on PC, Xbox, or PlayStation 3 is ultimately a bit more of a better deal. However, like I was saying, despite the fact that the co-op has been downsized to 2 players, you can still partake in duels, so that functionality is still there. So, would I recommend Borderlands 2? In a way, yes. Because Borderlands 2 on PlayStation Vita is probably the most polarizing game I've ever picked up and played. On one hand, the mission structure is perfect for a handheld, the controls are responsive apart from touchpad, and it looks good despite the graphical limitations of the Vita. On the other hand, the amount of bugs and problems that come indicate that it just wasn't ready for release, and it could have used some extra time in the development phase. Borderlands is serious fun, but ultimately it has serious problems. So there we have it, my somewhat of a review of Borderlands 2 on PlayStation Vita. If you liked what I had to say about it, please leave a like or comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, bye!
Borderlands.